Imagine receiving a confidential invitation from the French government to secretly purchase one of the world's most famous landmarks. The documents look genuine. The officials appear respectable. The price is unbelievably attractive. There's only one problem. The government never intended to sell the Eiffel Tower. Yet one man convinced successful businessmen that it did, not once, but twice. This is the astonishing story of Victor Lustig, perhaps the greatest con artist in modern history. Paris, 1925. The French capital was roaring back to life after the devastation of the First World War. Cafes buzzed with optimism, luxury returned to the boulevards, and tourists poured into the city to admire its monuments. Towering above them all stood the Eiffel Tower, built for the 1889 World's Fair. Originally intended as a temporary structure, it had become the unmistakable symbol of Paris. But behind the scenes, maintaining the massive iron monument was expensive. Newspapers occasionally criticized the enormous repair costs, sparking public debates over whether the aging structure had become more trouble than it was worth. For most readers, those stories were quickly forgotten. For Victor Lustig, they became the foundation of a masterpiece. Lustig was born in what is now the Czech Republic in 1890. Intelligent, charming, and fluent in several languages, he understood that confidence was often more valuable than money. He traveled across Europe and America, perfecting scams that relied less on force and more on psychology. He studied human behavior carefully. He knew wealthy people rarely wanted to appear uncertain, especially when offered an exclusive opportunity. His greatest weapon wasn't deception alone. It was making his victims believe they were smarter than everyone else. Reading reports about the Eiffel Tower's maintenance costs, Lustig saw something others didn't. If the public believed repairs were expensive, perhaps a secret government plan to dismantle and sell the tower for scrap might sound believable, provided the proposal remained confidential. The scheme required precision. Lustig forged official government stationery and identified 6 of Paris's leading scrap metal dealers. Each received an elegant invitation requesting attendance at a confidential meeting in a luxurious hotel. The letters carried all the signs of authenticity. Titles, seals, and formal language convinced the businessmen that they had been selected for an extraordinary government contract. When the dealers arrived, they met a polished gentleman introducing himself as a senior official from the French ministry responsible for postal and telegraph services. That gentleman, of course, was Victor Lustig. He explained that the Eiffel Tower had become too costly to maintain. Public opinion would never accept demolishing such a beloved landmark, so the government wished to negotiate discreetly before announcing the decision. Absolute secrecy, he insisted, was essential. Everything about the presentation felt official. The hotel conveyed prestige. The documents appeared authentic. Lustig answered technical questions confidently, blending truth with carefully crafted lies. The businessmen left convinced they were competing for the deal of a lifetime. Among them was André Poisson, a relatively new scrap dealer eager to establish himself among Paris's industrial elite. Lustig recognized him immediately as the ideal target. Unlike his more experienced competitors, Poisson desperately wanted acceptance. He also feared missing an opportunity that others might seize. Lustig invited Poisson to a private conversation. During that meeting, he subtly changed roles. No longer merely a government official, he hinted that bureaucrats often expected unofficial payments before approving contracts. He never demanded a bribe directly. Instead, he allowed Poisson to reach that conclusion himself. The psychology was brilliant. If Poisson believed corruption explained the secrecy, then every suspicious detail suddenly became reassuring rather than alarming. Paying extra would not seem unusual. It would seem necessary. Poisson handed over a substantial bribe along with payment for the supposed purchase rights to the Eiffel Tower. Within hours, Victor Lustig quietly boarded a train and disappeared from France carrying a fortune. Back in Paris, Poisson eventually discovered the horrifying truth. The government had never intended to sell the Eiffel Tower. There had never been a secret contract. The official he had trusted simply vanished. Yet something remarkable happened. Poisson refused to report the crime. Admitting he had been fooled would have destroyed his reputation in the competitive business world. Embarrassment became Lustig's greatest protection. The victim's silence prevented newspapers from exposing the fraud, allowing the con artist to escape without pursuit. From another country, Lustig watched carefully. When no international manhunt appeared, he reached an astonishing conclusion. Perhaps he could do it again. Weeks later, he returned to Paris. Using nearly identical forged documents, another luxury hotel, and another carefully selected group of scrap dealers, Lustig repeated the entire performance. Once again, he claimed the French government intended to dismantle the Eiffel Tower. Once again, businessmen competed for the imaginary contract. This time, however, events unfolded differently. One of the prospective buyers became suspicious before completing the payment and contacted authorities. Realizing the illusion was beginning to collapse, Lustig fled France before police could arrest him. Even though the second attempt failed to match the first success, the audacity of trying to sell the same world-famous landmark twice secured his place in criminal history. But Victor Lustig's career was far from over. During the 1920s and early 1930s, he crossed the Atlantic and targeted wealthy Americans. His confidence never wavered. One of his most famous tricks involved selling a so-called money-printing machine. Demonstrating the device carefully, he ensured it appeared to produce genuine currency. In reality, the machine contained a few authentic bills hidden inside. By the time buyers realized it printed nothing valuable, Lustig was already hundreds of miles away. Perhaps even more astonishing was his encounter with the notorious gangster Al Capone. Rather than attempting a risky scam, Lustig asked Capone to invest $50,000 in a business venture. Instead of spending the money, he locked it safely away. Weeks later, he returned every dollar, apologizing that the investment had failed. Capone, impressed by such apparent honesty, rewarded him with several $1,000s for his integrity. The con artist understood something profound. Sometimes earning trust through restraint produced greater rewards than immediate theft. Eventually, however, even the greatest illusionist ran out of luck. American authorities pursued him relentlessly, particularly after his involvement in sophisticated counterfeiting operations. The United States Secret Service tracked him across multiple cities. In 1935, Victor Lustig was finally arrested. His criminal career ended not because people became impossible to deceive, but because law enforcement gradually connected the many identities and schemes he had used for years. He was convicted and eventually imprisoned at Alcatraz, America's most secure federal prison, where escape seemed nearly impossible. There, behind thick concrete walls overlooking San Francisco Bay, the master manipulator spent the final years of his life. Victor Lustig died in prison in 1947. The Eiffel Tower still stands over Paris today, welcoming millions of visitors every year. Its iron framework has survived wars, occupations, and countless predictions of demolition. Yet its most unbelievable chapter wasn't architectural at all. It was psychological. Lustig never possessed armies, political power, or vast wealth. He succeeded because he understood something timeless about human nature. Ambition can cloud judgment. Exclusivity creates urgency. Pride discourages questions. And when people desperately want an opportunity to be real, they often help construct the illusion themselves. In the end, Victor Lustig didn't truly sell the Eiffel Tower. He sold confidence, secrecy, and the irresistible dream of owning something no one else could have. And incredibly, for one unforgettable moment in history, that proved to be enough.